What's going on? It's your boy Town. So, I wanted to get a live stream on right quick. So, I thought I'd talk some boxing, doing a late night creep. So, I got some time to spare. So, I thought I'd talk some boxing. So, we got some fights that was just announced though. We got Tiafimo Lopez versus Rolly Ramiro, which is going to take place at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on August the 22nd. Now, keep in mind, you had heard talks of this uh, about a week and a half ago, but it's set in stone. The press conference is up tomorrow in Los Angeles. I won't be there, but I may pull up to the fight. You never know. Now, I know you're gonna say, but town, the PBC don't mess with you. Well, who said I would be coming there as a media member? So you might see me there. I might do a one and done, or I might do an all nighter, just fly out there, you know, just for the hell of it. It's going to be at the T-Mobile Arena once again on August 22nd, and this fight is going to be broadcast via the Zone and I think a joint venture with Amazon. But in case you guys don't know, Errol Spence and Tim Zoo, which is coming up in approximately about um, maybe maybe 2 weeks and some change. So that's coming up. But yeah, it looks like the Zone and PBC are moving forward with basically joining forces, and then basically the Zone will become the most powerful boxing entity outside of Zufa if they can land the PBC, which it looks like they have already landed the PBC, and it looks like the transitioning of the PBC moving over to the Zone is happening right now before our eyes. So, you know, with that being said, you would think um, we wouldn't get the mess that we got, and the excuses that we're still continuing to get is always a double standard, like I said, when it pertains to boxing. So now Samson Lewinsky basically came out and said that Fundora is shut down till I think build 2027. So that means he won't be fighting again, according to Samson Boxing, Samson Lewinsky. Keep in mind that there was talks of trying to unify the titles with Boots and Fundora uh, did what he did with Terrence Crawford. Basically said that his nose was broken and that he was out for 6 months, and basically it only take you about 2 weeks to recover from a broken nose, which that didn't make any kind of sense. So now Boots is um, the beneficiary of getting you know basically being ducked. He's being ducked by Fundora, and you just got to call it what it is. Whether they eventually fight down the line, is he's currently ducking Boots. Talking about they got to fight, they mandatory. We all know that unification bouts trump mandatories. That's the bottom line. All they have to do is petition the other sanctioning bodies and vice versa, saying, "Hey, we want to unify the belts," and then they could start negotiating. But Fundora gets away with this, and fighters that look like Fundora now. Keep in mind, if this was Boots doing this, you would see all kind of videos getting made about him being a duck, and he don't want the smoke. But Fundora has pulled this stuff a few times. Well, Samson Lewinsky said something that didn't make any sense whatsoever, saying that the fight wouldn't do good and that it might be boring. Say what you want to say about Boots, but Boots isn't remotely boring. So that's just a complete fucking lie. You just got to call it how you see it, and you can't sugarcoat it. That is a complete lie to say that Boots is boring, and I feel like that's doing Boots a disservice. And then Samson is doing himself a disservice by being disingenuous and just flat out not telling the truth. That's just a flat out lie. That's just a flat out lie. My thing is, what do you mean the fight isn't gonna sell? Okay? So how did Fundora's last fight do? Yeah, exactly. Okay, can somebody tell me what is Fundora's pay per view numbers? Yeah, that's what I thought. Could somebody tell me what is Fandora's ticket sales? Yeah, that's what I thought. Nobody hardly came to that fight with him versus Keith Thurman. Fundora is not a draw. It just comes across as that if that fight was to happen, mostly people would be coming there for Boots, and they don't want Boots to have any kind of leverage. Say what you want to say. Boots fight with Xander Zayas sold out. It did very well. So now they haven't released what the pay per view numbers was, but the zone for the most part they pick and choose when they want to release pay per view numbers what it did on pay per view. So we may never know what the fight did as far as pay per view, but the fight sold very well. There were people talking about it, but let's not play these games as if you know, Fundora is a top ticket seller. Nobody cares about Sebastian Fundora. He doesn't sell a lot of tickets, and that's fact. Have I ever covered a Fundora fight? No, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, when you're a media member, they send you certain type of information. And then plus you have other media members that you are associated with, and they'll tell you whether the place was packed or not, and they'll tell you how many people in attendance showed up for the fight. Because I mean, usually they announce the attendance for the fight. If it, they announce the attendance for the fight, um, just just on GP, they'll tell you how many people showed up for the fight. Keep in mind, I've covered so many fights to where I can't even keep track of how many fights that I've covered. I mean, they'll give you an email of how many people showed up to the fight. Sometimes they go by actual ticket sales, and then sometimes they'll go by how many tickets that they actually punched in or scanned. So we have our ways of finding out. But to hear Samson say that Boots and Fundora would be boring, come on, man. You got to stop. You got to stop even pushing narratives like that out there. You just make yourself look real bad. It just comes across as they don't like that fight for Fundora. They feel like Boots could possibly present some problems that would um, put Fundora in serious jeopardy of losing that fight. But we thought these shenanigans, and this is the problem that I've always had with the PBC and some of their fighters. They always pull these type of shenanigans, and then you get frustrated. And then, as I said before, as a journalist, as a media member, you call these type of situations out, and then guess who they get mad at? Oh, why are you saying this? Why are you saying this? Because it's true. But at the same time, they want to control. They want to control what you say and what type of information you put out. It's just like good grief. It's just like I get tired of hearing this stuff about. And another thing that bothers me, I get tired of hearing this stuff when you ask the promoters and sometimes even the fighters, oh, let it marinate, let it marinate. Listen, man, you marinate barbecue, you marinate meat. There are some things that need to get did right away. This is something that needs to get did right away. Okay. So we can keep the engine running with boxing. So we get these big fights right away. It brings notoriety, and curiosity to people that are casual fans, to where you could be like, look, they got a big fight coming up. But when you sit up there and basically push these fights a year away, 2 years away, sometimes even 3 years away, then once again it's almost like you starting from zero. Just like when boxing is starting to maintain some steam, then here you come with this shit, and you get tired of this. Now on the flip side, Rick Maringian, manager of Virgil Ortiz, he's saying that things are looking good. He's saying possibly that maybe that Boots on the flip side is negotiating a fight with Virgil Ortiz. You've been hearing Josh Kelly as a possible option for Boots, and that fight would take place in Philadelphia. But now you're hearing that a possible fight between Virgil Ortiz and Boots is possibly being negotiated, and that maybe if everything goes correctly, you will see Virgil Ortiz return to the ring versus Boots. Now, Virgil Ortiz last fought in November. Now he's been out of the ring because of this issue with Golden Boy. Um, we're we're in July now. It was brought to our attention a couple of months ago that they would have a final arbitration meeting, possibly to see can they work this out, and maybe we could get some good news that this situation has been fixed, and that we could get a big fight between Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis, which I'm up for a fight like that. So, you know, yeah, that's true about Canelo. Um, quiet as kept. A lot of people, quiet as kept going into this Christian and Billy fight. A lot of people quietly is picking and Billy to win this fight. You know, Bob Aaron thinks that M Billy is going to beat, and a few people behind the scenes are going with M Billy, but we got to see. We got to see. We got to see. We got to see. But you guys, this is how boxing. This is how boxing, you know, continues to fail with trying to bring back the casual fan, because you don't want to make the big fights, because you have this thing now with fighters losing now, or should I say fighters losing to black fighters. That was the whole premise with Lomachenko. They'd rather see Lomachenko lose to anybody except a black fighter. And then at the same time, they want to stun the popularity and the growth of a black fighter, because as you can see, it's been it's been this narrative that they've been pushing. Like if a black fighter beats what you would call a high profile, possibly pound for pound non-black fighter, then all of a sudden they try to attack the black fighter by saying, "Oh well, the guy that he fought was suspect and all that kind of stuff, or he wasn't that good. He was possibly overrated," which to me, that's a disservice to, the black fighters. But they've been pushing that narrative. Now, if the black fighter loses a high profile fight to a non-black fighter, then all of a sudden that's the greatest win for them. So basically, as the boxing game works, you are elevated by how well you do versus black fighters. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But if you're a black fighter, then to a certain degree, it's the yeah, but it's always the yeah, but with us. Where if it's a non-black fighter, it's the, oh man, that's an amazing victory. And I know plenty of people have saw this, and I see this on a regular basis. I call it right down the middle, and I am completely 100% honest. That, and that's not just with the promoters and the fighters themselves. You see that a lot of that with the fanfare. It's a good fight until It's a good fight until the brother wins. Now, what'll happen is, let's just say, for argument's sake, let's just say they say, okay, well, you know what, we had second thoughts. We're going to go on and make the fight with Boots and Fundora. Boots goes in there and he curb stomps Fundora. You know what they're going to say? Oh, well, Fundora been knocked out before. Oh, Fundora has been beaten by Brian Mendoza. Oh, Brian Mendoza. Then all of a sudden, the narrative, you know, they try to downgrade the fighter. But I promise you, if Virgil Ortiz or Fundora beats Boots, then they'll start talking about, hey, I want to pose a question. And this is something that the content creators put out. Then all of a sudden, Fundora, he beats Boots or he stops him, whatever the case may be. Then all of a sudden they start saying, oh, is Fundora the best fighter in the world? I promise you that. I've been doing this for far too long. I'm very good at this. This is what I do. And then, of course, you're going to get the PBC. As I said before, the PBC that's known for ostracizing media like me, who call this right down the middle and call this bullshit out. Then all of a sudden they make it look like we're the bad guys, and we're not the bad guys. We're just doing our job. But hopefully, as I said before, in wrapping this stream up, hopefully we will get some news within the upcoming days, um, about some other fights that could potentially you know, be on the pipeline. Hopefully, we get some news what's going on with Devin. Um, it appears that a lot of these PBC fighters appear to be shut down for the remainder of 2026. Interesting. Anyway, it's your boy Town. I'm out.